My name is Dell. This is Dell on Movies. Thanks for hanging out with me. And this is the third episode of Watch These Movies. Now, what that is, this is a series where I go through my collection. I find some movies that I don't hear talked about very much on YouTube or anywhere else either, because I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. I don't hear these movies talked about a lot, but I think they deserve some shine. So I recommend them to you. I do five at a time. So let's just jump right into today's selections. The first movie is by director Park Chan Wook, a Korean director. He's known for movies like Old Boy, so I'm not going to suggest that one because as soon as I say that one, well, somebody's going to tell me that everybody knows about Old Boy. He did the whole trilogy of Vengeance, which includes Old Boy, a movie called Lady Vengeance, and another one called Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. All good movies. Old Boy is the standout though. He's also did one of my favorite vampire flicks of all time, a movie called Thirst. Those are all Korean movies. All he did them in Korea. And this movie, however, is his first American movie. I don't know if he's made another one. I don't think he has. This movie is called Stoker, and it is a wild movie. This guy, well, this is the main character. Mia Wasikowska plays her. She's basically a troubled teen, and this is her uncle. He comes to visit and eventually finds out that her uncle is a serial killer, and then things kind of go from there. I don't want to say anything more because I will let you guys take a look at it, and definitely it's a wild ride. So that's all I can say about it. Nicole Kidman, of course, I think she plays the mom, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, because it's been a couple years since I watched it myself. I might throw it in here soon myself and refresh my memory. But this is a fantastic movie, very underrated. And if you're into cinematography, I forget the name of the person who does the cinematography in almost all of his movies, but they did a great job here. Every frame, most of the frames, they look like they could be gorgeous still photos that you would hang up. Now some of them are kind of grisly, so you might not want to do that, but it's a good looking movie, really crazy. If you're familiar with his work, then you know he can get wild. The movies I mentioned, plus The Handmaiden he did a few years ago, also very wild. So Stoker's one to get if you're looking for something that's a little bit out there. I highly recommend Stoker. Next up is a movie that came out back around the time I was born, and it's interesting because just a couple of years ago, I want to say about 3 years ago, a movie came out called The United States versus Billie Holiday. Singer Andra Day starred as Billie Holiday. She did a fantastic job. She was Oscar nominated and deserved to be so. This movie is also about Billie Holiday. The actress in the lead was also nominated for an Oscar and definitely deserved it. And she is a singing legend in her own right. And that was Diana Ross, who stars in Lady Sings the Blues. This movie, again, Billie Holiday led a rough life. The latter movie, the one that came out a few years ago, it focuses mostly on her most famous song, Strange Fruit, and all of the troubles that it caused her. This is more of this is maybe a little more of a full-blown biopic, and Diana Ross just nails it. This is also Billy D. Williams plays a big part in this movie, and believe it or not, I know a lot of you guys you know him as Lando Calrissian in the Star Wars movies. I knew Billy D. Williams from this movie, another movie called Bingo Long and the Traveling All Stars, a baseball movie, and a couple of other movies. So, and then when I saw him show up in The Empire Strikes Back, I was like, wow, it's the guy from Lady Sings the Blues, again before Orlando, he was along with Richard Roundtree, and he was probably the black male sex symbol in America, and this was pretty much the height of that. So Lady Sings the Blues is an interesting one if you want to check out a music biopic and a fantastic performance by Diana Ross. This is one to see. Next is a movie that's not so old, came out a few years ago. It is, I think part of the issue with this movie is it was tough to market. It's got some sci-fi elements, a lot of sci-fi elements, and it's kind of a family thriller drama. So it kind of struggled to fit into a genre that was easy to market, and I think that caused it to kind of fall through the cracks. It is Don't Let Go. That is Daniel Oyelowo, David Oyelowo. I'm sorry, David Oyelowo. He's the main character. Storm Reed, who was in Wrinkle in Time, she plays, I believe, his niece, not his daughter. She's his niece, and she gets killed. She winds up dying. A couple of days go by, and he gets a phone call from her cell phone, and it's her calling him. And from there, she helps him try, or she tries to help him investigate her murder. And it sounds a little weird, and it is a little weird, but they make it work. It's not a great movie. It's not a perfect movie, I should say, but I really enjoyed it. So that is Don't Let Go. Moving on to the next movie, I'm going back in time again myself. This time back to the 80s, back to my childhood. I saw this movie, I don't know how many times as a teenager. I probably shouldn't have, but I saw it a lot of times as a teenager. I saw it a few times more as an adult. And this is DC Cab. And of course, the one and only Mr. T is in this movie. He's actually not the star of the movie. He's a supporting character, but he was one of the biggest names. He was definitely the hottest name at the time the movie came out. I mean, 18 was already out. I'm not sure if this was. I think this was before. It might have been before or just after Rocky 3 when he was Clubber Lang. So they threw him on the cover. They gave him high billing. Gary Busey's in this movie. We got a Baldwin in this movie. I think it's Adam Baldwin is in this movie. A lot of famous 80s people. The Barbarian Twins, if you remember those guys. I don't know if you do. If you don't, these were these two bodybuilding twin brothers, and they made a few movies in the 80s, and basically their shtick was they were lunkheads and just did stupid stuff all the time. So that works perfectly for this. This is a zany raunchy comedy. The star of the show is comedian Charlie Barnett, and he's really the star of the show. This movie, it's a shame he led a rough life and didn't really do much else as far as movies are concerned. Like I said, he was a stand-up for a really long time. But if you're just looking for a laugh, DC Cab, it's stupid. Don't look for any deep meaning here. It's just dumb fun. And finally, my last video is I'm going to go even further back in time. I know some of you younger guys, you get scared, you start shaking when somebody suggests a movie that's in black and white. You just can't handle it. You don't want to deal with it. It looks too old-fashioned for you. And this is as old as, not as old as it gets, but this is as old as the talkies go. As fellow YouTuber Tim Talks Talkies, he'll probably enjoy this pick. This one is The Public Enemy, one of my favorite gangster movies of all time. James Cagney is just a tour de force in this movie, just an amazing performance. He is the main character. It is the rise and fall of his character. And believe it or not, they do it all in less than 80 minutes. I think it's about 77 minutes long. And there's nothing missed. You don't feel like you missed anything. Getting used to the way people talked in the 30s might be a little bit of a chore for some of you guys, but yeah, if you've seen some movies from the era, you understand. The Public Enemy is an amazing film in my opinion. So yeah, looking for a gangster movie, you've already seen Goodfellas, you've already seen Scarface, you've already seen The Godfather. Hey, check out The Public Enemy, and you can get out of there in a really short time. Like I said, less than 80 minutes, and still get a fantastic movie. So those are my picks for episode 3 of Watch These Movies. If you do decide to watch them, let me know what you think of them, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.